Definitions. Do I have a seconder for definitions? Ellie Jones. I'll put them out.
Do with community corrections.
Beg your pardon?
Community corrections in terms of the definitions of community activities to occur in residential zones.
Have you got that here, definition?
Sorry, I'm not sure
Didn't we fix that last
Yes.
Friday?
We did
Yes.
for the central city, but not for the remaining city.
No, what the context that we discussed last week was in relation to the stage 2 definitions.
Yeah, but it didn't apply in this chapter, did it? I mean,
no. All you're looking at now are the definitions that are specific to the stage 3.
Stage 3.
Stage 3 chapters.
Sorry, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Now we've got coastal environment and natural hazards. Oh, let's do the amendments to stage 2 chapters to include
Can I
rules.
just relook at the amendments? Can I just take out the word stage 2 chapters?
Right.
Because we're simply adding to them. Amendments to include rules relating to natural and cultural heritage stage 3 into the following chapters.
Oh, right. So take out the word chapter. Yep. Cool. Relating to natural and cultural heritage, stage 3, into the following chapters.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, I'll move that. Seconded by Phil Clearwater. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And now we've got coastal environment and natural hazards.
I beg your pardon. I'm just told that that list of 4 chapters should include utilities and energy.
Utilities and energy, and the mover and seconder both accept that as part of the motion. Thank you. So, where are we up to with coastal environment and natural hazards? Have we got the maps?
No, unfortunately we've crashed the system trying to print them.
Right, okay.
The area I wanted to have raised and just want to ensure, because it is included, because I didn't see it with the amended version, that this is around the coastal hazards. It was really the specifics for resource consent applications and who would would do those assessments. And as I said, although it's listed as chartered professional engineers, I asked that in fact the people who could do that could be widened. That's all. And
yes, and I have done that. Yes, I can respond to that. Dr. Ian Wright provided me with some text. I haven't got it here. I can provide it if you'd like, but we've redrafted it so it's really focusing on a coastal scientist, an assessment by a coastal scientist, and should there be a need for hard engineering works, then input from coastal engineers.
Yeah, no, look, that will cover, make it broader as I had requested. So look, thank you.
Okay. All right. So is there any...
Just to go back to your first question, sorry, I couldn't put my finger on that policy. It's actually in the first part of natural hazards, so it has already been notified, and it's policy 5.2.6, which reads protect natural features which assist in avoiding or reducing the effects of natural hazards such as natural ponding areas, coastal dunes, wetlands, waterways margins and riparian vegetation from inappropriate subdivision and development, and where appropriate restore, maintain and enhance the functioning of these features.
Right. Well, thank you, Helen. I just want to sort of see it.
Thank you.
Right. So is there any discussion on the coastal environment chapter? Yanni?
I mean, my biggest concern is that we've got intensive housing proposed in our coastal management areas, and it just seems to me that we kind of, that's why those maps are so critical, because like in the Linwood area, understanding what the government have done in terms of rezoning that, the hearings panel have done in terms of rezoning that land to be intensive, if they have.
Sorry, that's a coastal environment?
Yeah. Actually, what's really interesting through
too.
Linwood is this comes in through Linwood. And
Yes, that's the extension of a coastal inundation area too.
Which is the same as the floor
level and fill
management
management
level and
areas.
fill.
it's actually one. It was the strongest one. in there that prohibited.
That's true. There's some fingers of coastal inundation area 1,
Yep.
and we went back and looked at those when you raised those, Councillor Johansson. And what the consenting framework would do would enable development if those coastal inundation issues could be addressed through engineering works along the side of the river there. So they're coming up through the river, so that's a tidal pressure up through the river channel.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the issue that Yanni's raising is perfectly right, which is that if there is to be substantial, what's the word, intensification of residential in that area, when the risks weren't mapped at the time that that decision was made, then it's an issue. So how do we draw to the Minister's attention, for example, that these maps now identify heightened risks that require substantial work to address, in terms of the earlier decision, which was to allow intensification in that area?
That's the question that I'm not sure about, is what works would be required to address it. So the mapping of these will draw that hazard to the attention of any developer, and then they will need to look at how that can be addressed.
Yes, but we wouldn't recommend, as a matter of course, intensification in areas that are exposed to natural hazards.
Unless those can be satisfactorily dealt with.
Yes, I know, but you wouldn't want intensification in areas that are exposed to natural hazards as a matter of course. If you've got options, you wouldn't choose them, would you?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is
the
on
trouble.
map 39 if you wanted to have a look at it on the
It's a
right-hand
huge
side
area.
of the page. Is that what you're referring to, Councillor?
Yeah, I mean, that's the area. And I mean, then I think it raises the question in terms of residential zoning, actually, why would you even allow like L3 or L2? Actually, maybe you should just retain L1 in these areas.
Well, we already have, it's already covered by the flood and fill level management areas. So there's already...
And that doesn't make any difference with the tidal, I mean, with the coastal inundation.
If they had this inundation...
Those maps are the same, aren't they?
Yes.
That's correct.
They
Yeah.
are.
So the remedy in both instances, Yanni, is the same, and they're the same areas. But I mean, the trouble is that we've got houses in these areas, and this is not the only area,
No, that's right.
that are being repaired. They're not being rebuilt, and they cannot protect themselves with new floor levels. That's the trouble. But I mean, that's the trouble. That has been the trouble since the plan change of 48 was made operative. That highlighted what was always going to be a problem, which was those that were rebuilding would be able to protect themselves, and those that weren't would not.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I just, yeah, again, maybe it's a separate process, but I do think in terms of maybe we do it through the submission, but it does seem to me that we do need to think about the land use, particularly in that coastal inundation area 1. So just remind me again what the rules are for that inundation area 1.
Well,
The high level.
and that's the area that's subject to coastal inundation during storm events in the next 50 years, and so we've taken a very restrictive approach in terms of new subdivision to create vacant lots and new buildings, and effectively non-complying activity status.
Right.
Now, the other message is that this is what will happen if we don't do anything.
Yeah.
And we've told the councillors, and councillors have spoken to the government about this, that we're preparing a natural hazard strategy, a resilience strategy, and also through the land drainage program, we're looking at means to address these issues into the future.
Well, the region's taken up a leadership role on the natural hazards as well, and it may be that they will be able to provide us with some additional support and advice.
And certainly they've provided us with a lot of support with the coastal hazards assessment, considerable, and using their own data that they've collected over 30 years.
Yeah. Glenn?
Thank you. I've been asked a question about the floor levels, which are proposed to increase to 12.3, and whether for those who have houses consented below that, whether that means that a hazard notice could be potentially placed. This is a concern of a
Okay, so the hazard notice is under the Building Act rather than under the Resource Management Act,
Okay.
and it's a case-by-case assessment, it would have to be, but a hazard notice is only placed on a building if the depth of flooding in the 1 in 100 flood is over 400 millimetres and it impedes the egress from that building. So that's a case-by-case analysis of each building. It doesn't necessarily follow that if your floor is below the floor level and fill management area that you'll get a hazard notice. That does not follow.
All right, and the concern is obviously about insurability and the bank's approach. It's situational, it's not a...
It's situational, that's
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
And it's under the Building Act rather than the Resource Management Act.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I think that there is going to need to be some sort of awareness campaign. I mean, you're talking about huge areas of Sumner, huge areas of Redcliffs that have got this now non-complying activity for development, which is quite a significant change.
But it's,
Like, I'm just wondering if this is going to be like a nuclear bomb on those communities, and whether they've got any idea around this.
as I said, the area concerned is no different from the existing floor level and fill management, or I don't know, fill level
Fill
and
and
floor
flood.
management areas. I wish they'd call them FMAs still, but anyway.
FMLMAs.
FML.
FLFMA.
No.
You had it correct.
FL.
Floor level and fill management area.
Yeah.
Floor level and fill management areas.
FLFMA.
Just hypothetically for a coastal inundation area one, if you've got a vacant section and you want to build a house on it, or you want to do a repair because your house was demolished in the earthquake, you have to apply for a non-complying consent
For new builds,
for a new build.
new
So
buildings, yep.
you have to then what do you?
But
have
if you're
to
replacing a
show?
building that was already there,
You've got existing use rights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So you build
Yes.
to the new floor level, but for a new build, which, I mean, okay, maybe there's not many, but maybe there's some. What's the kind of what do they have to show in terms of being able to build in a coastal inundation area?
We have
New
got
floor
assessment
levels.
matters for discretionary and restricted discretionary, but for those non-complying activities, we don't have those assessment matters because we suggest that if there are only going to be unique circumstances where rebuilding would be permissible, unless of course they've got some hazard mitigation proposal, either for the site or for a number of sites that can help to mitigate that risk.
Right, so take Redcliffs. Would they just say, well, you've got the seawall, so therefore you're okay? Or I'm just trying to understand what it means to these people, because if you look at this map, it really is extensive and affects a lot of people.
Well, of course, a lot of those areas already have a seawall there,
Right.
particularly at Sumner, but that's why the road exists there effectively without being eroded. So, as I said earlier, to some extent that's going to put the pressure back on the council to look at these the various strategies as to what it's going to do, including its operational work as to maintenance and upgrading of existing facilities like the seawalls that are there already.
Yeah. And when does someone's existing use rights expire?
12 months after non-continuous use. Is that right?
12 or 24 now.
It can be
Is
actually
it 24?
24. There's another 12 months
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the 12 months where they can still make application.
So effectively, anyone that's got a house here doesn't need to worry. They just get existing use rights certificate, and as long as they stay
Build
in the
to the
house,
high
they're
level.
okay.
Yes.
Or mitigate in some other way. Yeah.
Yes.
They need to be concerned. This is why we're mapping this. They need to be concerned for the future and for their future investments, just as the council has to be.
Yeah.
So we've got this information. We're required by national and regional policy statements to map coastal hazards, identify them and manage them for the next 100 years.
You
So
know, I understand that, and I think it's good that we're doing this. I guess it seems to me like we've mapped it and we've said this is a really, important thing to take account of, but most people can just get existing use certificates and carry on.
No, but Yanni, this has been the issue since the earthquakes. The feeling of banging one's head against a brick wall, the only thing that's good about it is that it feels good when you stop, and this has been raised over and over and over again, that we have a huge challenge in this city managing for not just the threat of coastal inundation, but actually just the flood risk. Alluvial, pluvial, I don't know. I can't remember all the words that we've learnt. But the thing is that if you are rebuilding, you can protect your floor levels. If you are not, you can't. And this is the real challenge for our city. And, it's one that we've got to think about how we can best utilise our resources as a city to offer a greater level of area-wide protection. So this is hugely challenging because it's not just Flockton, it's not just Sumner, it's not just, it's, as you can see from the maps, it's extensive. But what I take some comfort from is that the coastal inundation maps are no different from the flood maps. And that means that the floor and fill management, or whatever, floor level and fill management areas are the same.
I should just add one proviso to that. So the coastal inundation areas out on Banks Peninsula.
Oh yes, I know. They weren't met before.
That's right. So they add floor level controls out on those areas on Banks Peninsula that have not existed before.
Haven't existed before, and that will be an issue, and they will be informed.
And just so I'm clear, just final clarification, just the mapping assumes no current protection. So the beach wall in Sumner, in Redcliffs, or the Sumner Esplanade rock protection.
So the coastal,
mapping assumes none of that.
It is acknowledged in terms of the coastal erosion.
The Sumner.
Right. So for places like Sumner where they have the revetment, but of course that doesn't protect them from inundation because they've got the culverts that allow water to drain out, and of course the seawater can come into those, in a storm event. So they're not fully protected from
Phil,
inundation.
then Dave.
It's pretty clear though that these areas are contentious, and just referring to what Yanni raised around how in fact people obtain this information, again I reiterate, starting with us as councillors, the NERP presentation is going to come to us, so it'll give us some clarity about all these things. And then the other part too is we need to develop a plan about like a commons plan in effect, but also how we have these discussions with people in the affected areas. So in fact, that the information is raised with them, and Yanni's alluding to that. So I think it's really about prioritising what areas we might sort of start with, and we're
getting that information sheet rewritten because it really has to be factual, but not also frighten people. I mean, this is not something that people can do nothing about. There are ways over time that we can add to our protections, or change how we develop particular areas.
And I think it's how we use that information sheet and having the discussions with the individual property owners.
Look, the long-term plan has actually provided us with that opportunity. So there have been a number of submissions that have come in on infrastructure, and some people saying defer this, that, and the other. Others saying get on with it. And so I'm working up a proposal that next Friday, so not this Friday, but next Friday, we have all of the infrastructure submissions on the day, but we start the day with a presentation on, similar to the one that's being organised for the ECAN and councillors. And I'm also thinking that the ECAN and councillors one should be opened up to a wider group of people. So, maybe, representatives of the Sumner Residents Association, representatives from South Shore and things like that, to try and get a wider group of people hearing all of that information together at the same time. because it's all very well for councillors and commissioners to be well informed. It's actually really important that we start a public conversation, which is a hard conversation to have. But the truth is that we're a city built in a low-lying environment, and we've been made more low-lying by the sequence of earthquakes that we experience. So it's going to be an extremely challenging time for people, and there's a lot of, well, as I've said on many occasions, when there is a vacuum, there will always be information made available to fill it. Some of it is more accurate than others, and I want really accurate quality information in the public arena so that people can understand what the challenges, the threats, and indeed the opportunities are from all of those. But anyway, yes, Yanni.
That we need to think.
Oh, sorry. Look, David, it was next, and I apologise.
We've acknowledged that it's a fairly contentious issue and whole lots of variables, but I'm going to remain consistent to my convictions over a long period now and vote against these two chapters purely on the basis of the fact that most of it is based on computer modelling, and I'm yet to see the model, the verification, the values that have been inputted, the margins of error, and on that basis I'm not entirely convinced that we're on the right track. So that's my position, and I'll be staying with it at this stage.
Yep. So Yanni.
So I mean, I think the other point that we discussed before was, you know, if we're building parks or recreational facilities in these areas and saying to people, no, not suitable because in time it's going to have coastal inundation, then it's kind of hard for the public to kind of sometimes understand that inconsistency. So, I mean, you know, I do worry. I do think we need to work through a really clear communication engagement plan. I mean, obviously we want people making submissions on this. We want them engaged. I mean, interesting enough, at Sumner last night we had about 300 people in the school hall about a tiny little skate park. So, you know, people can get engaged on very specific local issues. Sometimes these bigger issues, just maybe they're so big that people don't quite comprehend the significance until they come in the planning document, and then they go, oh my God, how did that happen? So I think, you know, if we can, through the submission process, organise those sessions so that people can be informed, and also think about what it means for us as a council for our activities in these areas. Because, you know, if I look at Bass Strait, we've just spent all this money building a new pumping station, and it's in the coastal inundation zone. So why would you do that? To me, it doesn't seem very logical. So okay, I mean, you know, let's get this out. I do think it's an important issue we need to address. And, you know, I think it is important that we signal that we are looking at it.
Yeah, at this stage, this is a reference to the ministers. I think that you know, we have various obligations in this area, but I could not agree more that the way that this is communicated, the advice that we are able to give, and the support we're able to give to our residents as they grapple with the issues that they have to grapple with. I mean, there is no alternative to grappling with this. You know, it's I think King Canute stood there and commanded the tide to return to whence it came, but he wasn't successful either. So, and we have had. You know, we've got significant challenges as a city because we've got to work out what is the infrastructure, you know, what is the natural response, what is a engineered response, you know, and what are the best solutions, what are cost effective, what could we do as a city. So all of these questions are being asked in the long-term plan process as well. So in a way there's a bit of a disconnect, but the fact that this is now you know, provided to us, I think that'll give us a very good basis for understanding what it is that we have to provide for in our long-term plan, because it's significant. There's no two ways about it. Individuals can protect themselves, and we've decided that it's the floor level or the fill level that can determine that level of individual protection. But what can we do as a city to protect ourselves and live with our natural hazards in a way that is affordable on one level, but also effective on the other. So it's a huge challenge, but I think that the way that we communicate this and work with our communities will be instrumental in how they are able to respond and cope with it. But again, I take great comfort from the fact that in the city area, in the Christchurch city area as opposed to Banks Peninsula, the flood maps for the city that have already been notified in stage 1 are the same as the coastal inundation maps. So we're talking about the same areas and the same response. I do have concerns with people who are repairing in these areas because they don't have the same opportunities as those who are rebuilding to build to higher levels. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. No, so record David East. And can we deal with natural and cultural heritage in the same way? Natural hazards in the same way. You'll second that. And I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. No, carried, but David East opposed. Right, so I think that is our job done. Unless there is...
I think we did include a recommendation in there, did we not, for the flatland recovery being taken out?
Yeah, but we've got a separate resolution on that. So go to the flatland.
I think there is, isn't there?
Yeah, it's got approve the chapter in section 32 for referral to the minister in 2 weeks.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Except that that's been moved and seconded, and it's going to be dealt with in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Yeah.
In 2
so
weeks.
So it hasn't
we'll bring
actually
that back
been.
In 2 weeks.
It actually hasn't been resolved yet.
Perhaps we just need to note. Oh, you have got the 2 weeks there. That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So is this an adjournment or declaring the meeting closed?
Thank you. No, yes, it's completed. These chapters, bar that flatland recovery zone, will now go to the ministers hopefully this Friday.
And that doesn't mean that, and that means we don't need a meeting on Friday?
No, I actually do have
well, I won't be here, that's why I'm raising
information to bring to you regards mediations on the transport and the temporary activities stage 2 this Friday.
All right, well, I won't be here, so I will let Jamie know, but if he's not here, then
Appeals Subcommittee of the airport zone?
Yes, that's 12th of May, I think that's scheduled for now.
Right, okay.
Yes? It only got settled yesterday, so it may not be in your diaries yet. I can't remember. It only got settled yesterday, the date. I think it's in the afternoon.
Oh, I'm escorting Prince Harry.
Oh.
Sorry. Who's... Yeah. You're all jealous, I know. No comments. All right, so I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.